Kodak makes 4 different stocks that fall into the category of consumer or budget color negative film. And through this journey of mine where I've been trying to shoot every single film that I can possibly get my hands on, I've shot each of these films a number of times. And after finally uploading my Color Plus review recently, I thought it just made sense to put a video together where I compared and kind of summarized each of these 4 different stocks. So here we are. And for the sake of not making this video just all of my opinions, I'm also going to include some of the comments that I've received on each individual review. Because it's the stock that I shot most recently and it's the freshest in my mind, I thought I'd start this video off with Color Plus. As the oldest emulsion of the bunch, based on stocks from the 80s and 90s, it has a very characteristic and heavy grain that makes pictures look almost nostalgic, as if they were old family photos when in reality they were taken quite recently, which really makes it stand out from the other stocks because the other stocks are much more modern emulsions that were designed a lot more with scanning in mind. And it's that very filmic, grainy look that draws a lot of people to Color Plus, including myself at times. To describe the color of Color Plus, it's vivid yet restrained, and it has a nice natural contrast to it too. It does, like all of these films, have that classic Kodak warmth, but the warmth in Color Plus is manageable and not too overbearing. At ISO 200, the speed of this film is reasonable. It is a little bit restraining at times. It'd be nice if it was maybe at 400, but luckily it works wonderfully with flash for moments with low light. And as a film that was designed for general use, it excels at nothing but does a good job of just about anything you throw at it. No matter the setting or lighting condition, it's got a very non-offensive look that makes for good pictures, and that's all you can really ask for a film at this price. Now, because I only just uploaded my Color Plus review, there aren't actually any comments that I think make sense for this video, so I've had to go back to an older video to this comment by Alessandro. The best part about this comment, that is a thing that I forgot to bring up when I recorded earlier, the scans that you get from Color Plus are really solid, and personally I found there wasn't that much correction to do. It was just very easy to get a look that was good with Color Plus. But yeah, that's the only comment I have for Color Plus, so that brings us to the second stock of the video, Kodak Gold. Now, in my review of Gold, I compared it quite a bit to Portra 400, describing it in the title of the video as the cheap Portra, which was quite bold of me, but I still stand behind it, because with this film, when the conditions are just right, you can get very comparable skin tones and overall contrast to what you'd expect from Portra, though that's not the case with every single image that you shoot on Gold. For most of the shots, I found the film to be quite contrasty, which is to be expected from consumer stocks, but comparing it to Color Plus, it's definitely got stronger contrast, and you lose a little bit more detail in the shadows and highlights in certain images. Now, just like Color Plus, it's also a 200 ISO stock, which can be limiting at times, and it would just be nice to have an ISO 400 version. But also at the same time, I really wouldn't recommend shooting Gold in low light. I really think this film is best suited to just daytime photography, late morning, early afternoon, because it is, well, it's called Gold, and that means that the images are quite warm. And when you mix warm lighting with a warm stock, you get images that can be way too warm. And looking into the comments, Richard and Chad seem to agree with me that Gold is all about daylight and not really for anything else. And here's another comment by Nathan that practically says the same thing, although they also think that flash photography is pretty good for this film. I haven't tried it that much with Gold. Maybe that's something I should consider revisiting. This comment got 30 likes, so I'm gonna trust what you guys seem to agree with. And finally, Joel brings up the point that Gold is very noisy and grainy, even in full daylight shots, unlike Portra, making the fair point that comparing Gold to Portra isn't all that too realistic. But yeah, that's it for the comments from Kodak Gold. From there, we move on to Ultramax. Now, long-term viewers of this channel know that I haven't had the best relationship with Kodak Ultramax. Ultramax just isn't for me. It's, of all the stocks that I've tried so far, Ultramax has the least dynamic range. And one of the key attributes that I really appreciate with shooting film is that, generally speaking, it has a wider dynamic range than digital shooting. With a lot of the pictures I've taken on Ultramax, not all of them, but a lot of them, I've either had to choose to have detail in the highlights or in the shadows. And that's just not something I've ever really been a fan of, which is rather unfortunate because it is the only stock that Kodak makes at ISO 400. Now I hope I haven't been too harsh on Ultramax in this video, because a lot of people do really enjoy shooting it, and as shown by the pictures that I've taken, when you get Ultramax in the right conditions, in the right moments, you can get really good images. My problem with Ultramax is basically that I never like a whole roll of Ultramax. It's only a few images, whereas with Color Plus and Gold, it's the other way around. There's only a few pictures that I don't like, and I generally enjoy the rest of the roll. But my dislike of it is just my opinion, and I've received a lot of comments saying that maybe I've shot Ultramax wrong, or maybe that my lab scans it wrong, but my experience of Ultramax is definitely not just something that's unique to me. A lot of people in my comments have shared that they've found the same thing. And this is something that I really enjoy about the kind of community that we have here on this channel, where everyone's just trying to help each other out and give the best information to everyone so they can just shoot great pictures and have fun with film photography. But yeah, from there we move on to the final film of this video. Last but not least, we have what is by far my favorite stock, and that is Kodak Pro Image. It's a great film because of two main reasons. Reason number one is the color and contrast. It's just great. It's kind of like portrait. It's a film that's designed for skin tones, but it's more vibrant and contrasty. People often describe it as a hybrid between Portra 400 and Ektar, and I'd have to agree with those people. It's really great. The images are brilliant, and I was lucky enough one of the times that I shot Pro Image to actually get to scan the images myself on a Frontier machine, and what I learned from that is that there's a lot of detail that gets retained in the highlights, which is just absolutely wonderful, and it's how I got these great portraits. Now, the second factor that makes Pro Image really wonderful is the fact that it was designed for South American and Southeast Asian markets, which means that it's suitable for warm, humid climates such as where I live. Now, one unfortunate downside of Pro Image is that it is an ISO 100 film, which is the lowest of the four that I'm talking about today, which you really notice when you're shooting. Though luckily, Pro Image does perform well with flash, and I guess there is a silver lining to that low ISO, and that is the grain, which is comparable to Portra 400. Now, for the comments on Pro Image, I found this comment from Rodrigo very interesting, saying that Pro Image was very popular down in Brazil in the mid-2000s. It was ubiquitous and cheap. I then asked my family if they remember shooting Pro Image, and they said they do. So I guess the next time I go to Brazil, I'm gonna have to shoot some Pro Image just to complete the circle. The other comments I got include this one from Image, where they said they found Pro Image to be the most versatile of the four options. Mark really likes the skin tones for portraits. And finally, Chris says it'd be great to have a 400 ISO version, which naturally I agree with, but we don't. We've just got Ultramax. Now, to quickly summarize, Color Plus is a jack of all trades, master of none, with retro grain for hipsters to enjoy. Gold is a bit more of a modern take on the jack of all trades, though it stumbles at times, ending up a bit too golden. Ultramax lacks dynamic range, but is otherwise a reasonably solid film. I don't hate it, I just don't enjoy it. And finally, Kodak Pro Image is great for portraits, and it's built for warm, humid climates, which makes it by far my favorite. Though if I lived in a cooler climate, maybe Color Plus would be my favorite. Now, if you've shot any of these stocks before, or you just have suggestions for me, or you want to talk about Ultramax, please join the discussion in the comments down below. I like to have a community of people where we all learn from each other and kind of get value from each other in the comments below. So please join if you have any questions or if you want to share anything. And if you'd like to see the full reviews for each of these films, I've put a playlist right up here, which you can click on. Other than that though, please give this video a like, please subscribe to this channel, do all the YouTube things that genuinely help out, which helps me make more of these videos. So yeah, I guess I'll see you next time in a video where I'll be talking about cameras and stuff.